In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, where life moved at a predictable pace, Ethan Carter sat at the breakfast table, sipping his coffee as the morning sunlight streamed through the window. Across from him, Julia, his wife of 5 years, flipped through the local newspaper while absently stirring her tea. To his right, her daughter, Chloe, scrolled through her phone, her expression unreadable. Ethan had stepped into Julia's life after her tumultuous divorce from Ryan, a man whose violent outbursts had left more than just emotional scars. He had been arrested for domestic abuse, and Julia had fought her way out of that nightmare. Ethan had been her anchor, the man who helped her rebuild. But lately, something had changed. The warmth they once shared had been replaced by cold distance, reduced conversations, and an ever-present secrecy around her phone. Suspecting the worst, Ethan hired a private investigator. $2,000 later, he had his answers. Julia had reconnected with Ryan. The man she had sworn to leave behind was now back in her life. And today, Ethan knew what was coming. He watched as Julia carefully folded the newspaper and set it aside, her fingers lingering on its edges. Finally, she spoke. "Ethan, I have something to tell you," she said softly. He set his mug down, his eyes never leaving hers. "I'll be out for a month. I'm staying with Ryan. It's his birthday month, and I want to make it special for him." Ethan took a slow breath, his heart pounding. He leaned forward slightly. "So what exactly will you be doing there? Cleaning his house, cooking for him, sleeping with him? Or is there a reason he can't hire someone for that? Why does my wife have to be the one to play house with him?" Julia's eyes flashed with indignation. "It's not like that. I'll be there as his partner." Ethan's voice remained calm but firm. "But you're married to me. How is that not cheating?" "Because I told you about it." Ethan let out a humorless chuckle. "Oh, I see. So as long as you announce it, it's not cheating." He leaned back in his chair. "What do you expect from me then? Wait here for 30 days while you play house with another man?" Julia sighed, frustrated. "Ethan, I have desires that only Ryan can fulfill." He smirked. "Like what?" "Being tied up and whipped." He had seen the texts. The videos. The images seared into his mind. He kept his expression neutral, but the anger boiled beneath the surface. "What about my desires, Julia? Do I get a free pass too?" he asked. Julia scoffed. "Fine. Do whatever you want. But when I come back, we go back to being a married couple." Ethan's lips curled into a small smile. "Oh, I intend to. But only if I don't find something better while you're gone." Her eyes narrowed, but before she could respond, he turned to Chloe. "What do you think, Chloe? Should your mother risk her marriage for a month of fun with her ex?" Chloe shrugged. "She's not your property, Ethan. She can do what she wants." Ethan noted the smugness in her tone. She wasn't just neutral, she was complicit. And he finally understood. She was going too. Later that day, Ethan had Julia sign a legal separation agreement, ensuring he owed her and Chloe nothing during their absence. With a smirk, he told her, "Enjoy your time with Ryan. I'll enjoy mine." Once they were gone, Ethan took back everything he had given. The car he bought for Chloe. Sold. The college fund. Transferred. The house. Listed on the market. By the time Julia realized what had happened, she was living under Ryan's roof with no financial safety net. When she called, demanding to know what he had done, Ethan took a sip of his drink and replied, "Taking care of my desires." A month later, Julia returned to an empty house, only to be served with divorce papers. Her lawyer fought back, but Ethan's evidence was airtight. The court ruled in his favor. Julia's life unraveled. And Ryan? He soon resumed his old habits, and Julia found herself trapped in the very nightmare she had tried to escape. As for Ethan, he had moved on, far away from Maplewood. He had his freedom, his finances, and most importantly, his peace. Because in the end, some betrayals come with a price. And Ethan had made sure Julia paid it in full. Ethan settled into his new life in a vibrant city across the country. He had taken a new job, one that kept him busy and fulfilled. Yet, the betrayal he had endured left a deep wound, one he refused to let define him. One evening, while enjoying a quiet dinner at a local bistro, he met Olivia, an independent woman with a sharp mind and a warm smile. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt something stir inside him, hope. Meanwhile, Julia's life with Ryan had deteriorated rapidly. Ryan's violent tendencies resurfaced, and Chloe, once defiant and smug, was now witnessing the harsh reality of the man she had sided with. Julia's calls to Ethan became more frequent, desperate even. But Ethan had moved on. As Ethan's relationship with Olivia deepened, he found himself embracing a future he never thought possible. Julia, on the other hand, was learning the hard way that some choices come with irreversible consequences. Would she try to crawl back to Ethan? And if she did, would he even care? Months passed, and Ethan's life in the city flourished. He had established a rhythm, work, friends, and his blossoming relationship with Olivia. He didn't think much about Maplewood or the mess he had left behind. Every time Julia's name flashed across his phone, he ignored it, content with the new life he had built. One evening, as Ethan was returning home from work, he was met with a text that stopped him in his tracks. "Please, Ethan, I need to talk." It was Julia. And the message was followed by a voicemail. Hesitant but curious, he played it. "Please, Ethan. I don't know where else to turn. Ryan. Ryan's back to his old ways. He's hurt Chloe, and I can't leave. I need you. I'm sorry. I was wrong." Ethan set the phone down on the table. His first instinct was to call Olivia, to share his thoughts, but he stopped himself. Olivia had made it clear that she didn't want him living in the past, and the past was exactly what Julia represented. Still, he couldn't shake the cold knot in his stomach. He knew exactly how manipulative Julia could be, how she could twist things to make herself the victim. And yet, the mention of Chloe, who had once been so smug, now suddenly caught in the crossfire, stirred something in him. Was he truly free of the woman who had once been his life? Later that night, Julia called again, her voice shaky. "Ethan, please, I don't know what to do. I can't leave him. I'm stuck. But I know I've made mistakes. Please, help me." For a moment, Ethan thought about the years of pain she had caused, the betrayal, the way she had so casually walked out on him for the man who had once destroyed her life. But the thought of Chloe, his stepdaughter, suffering, that weighed heavily on his conscience. Ethan decided to go back to Maplewood. Not for Julia, but for Chloe. Ethan arrived in Maplewood, driving up to the house he had once shared with Julia. It felt different now, empty and cold. As he stepped out of the car, the familiar ache in his chest grew. This wasn't home anymore. Julia was waiting at the doorstep, her face drawn and pale, the years of hardship etched in every line. The sight of her struck him with a bitter nostalgia. But the feeling passed quickly, replaced by the clarity of his decision. "Ethan," she whispered as he approached, her eyes pleading. He stared at her, taking a long moment before speaking. "You know, Julia, I used to think I'd come back for you. For us. But that's not why I'm here." Her eyes flickered with a mixture of hope and fear. "Then why are you here?" "Chloe," Ethan said simply, his voice cold. "You're not the only one who matters." Julia flinched. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. Ryan, he's not who he was before. But I don't know how to leave him. He's dangerous, Ethan. He's been hurting Chloe. Ethan felt a coldness settle over him. He wasn't here to listen to excuses. He was here to act. Where is she? Julia hesitated, her eyes darting toward the house. She's in her room. Please, Ethan, help us. Without saying another word, Ethan walked into the house. The familiar scent of stale coffee and old memories filled the air. He moved quickly through the halls, his mind racing. When he reached Chloe's room, he knocked softly, but there was no answer. He opened the door, his heart sinking when he saw her. Chloe was sitting on the bed, staring blankly at the wall. Her face was bruised, her clothes disheveled. The room felt like a tomb. "Chloe," Ethan said, his voice gentle but firm. "Come on. We're getting you out of here." She turned to him, eyes wide, and for the first time, Ethan saw the fear in her eyes, true, unguarded fear. The smugness was gone. I can't," she stammered, her voice cracking. "I don't know how to get away from him. He'll find me. He always does." "You don't have to do this alone," Ethan said, moving closer to her. "Come on. We're leaving. You're not stuck here anymore." Chloe didn't respond at first, but then, slowly, she stood up, wiping away the tears she hadn't allowed herself to shed. It wasn't easy. They left the house without Julia, without Ryan, and they went straight to the police. Ethan made sure Chloe was safe, putting her under the protection she needed. It didn't take long for the authorities to move in, and Ryan was taken into custody. As for Julia, she came to see Ethan the next day, once she realized what had happened. She stood in front of him, hands shaking, her face a mixture of fury and sorrow. "You took her from me," she accused, voice trembling. "You couldn't even let me fix things with my daughter." Ethan stared at her, coldly indifferent. "You lost your chance when you put Ryan before your family. Chloe's better off without you." Julia opened her mouth to argue, but Ethan was already walking away. There was nothing left to say. Weeks passed, and Chloe began her recovery. She stayed with Ethan, who ensured she had the support and therapy she needed to rebuild her life. Olivia stood by his side, offering her understanding and comfort, proving that there was something better, something far more stable waiting for him. Julia's life continued to unravel. Ryan was convicted of assault and sent back to prison. With no means of support, Julia found herself isolated, once again abandoned by the man she thought she could turn to. And as for Ethan, he knew he had done the right thing. The past, with all its pain and betrayal, had been sealed. He didn't need revenge, he needed peace. And finally, after all the destruction, he had it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, please hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear what you think. Your feedback really helps me create better content for you. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update. Thanks again and see you in the next video. Take care.